Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Zoo & Co. show. I'm your host, Zaiyou, here with my friend Cassidy and a new face, KP, who will let introduce
Hello,
herself
hello.
in a little bit. You know how every podcast has like something that they do that's like a recurring, either like an inside joke or like, you know what I'm
Super
talking about.
Omnom
hmm
one.
No, no, okay, we could make a super om nom one, but I feel like we're getting kind of close to figuring out who it is. No announcements just yet. We've got some insider deets, of course, on that end. I've come up with a perfect way to start the episodes.
Okay,
Every
go.
week, I'm going to ask just a random question. See, this started with the Skittles one, right? The Skittles one was fantastic. That was a banger. If you haven't watched it, go back to it. I don't remember which episode it is. It's the one about gaming, where I asked
I
everyone their
did laugh at
favorite
that.
color of Skittles.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we like memed on each other for that. And
Mm.
then I will also ask everyone to comment, like, in the comment section, their answer to that question, because that gets the engagements up, and it's super fun. Like last
Super
time,
Omnom one.
Super Omnom One will comment like 3-4 times, whoever he or she is. Last time we asked like if no, Cassidy asked if you were a vegetable, what would you be, right?
No, and then, if you were spinach, would you be in the Popeyes bag
Or
or the spring mix
the
box?
spring. That's so oddly specific. Okay, the question for the day today is
Okay.
how many bubble tea pearls do you think you could fit in your mouth?
Oh.
I don't even order pearls.
Oh, I
It's
have
been like
bubble tea here.
years.
Should I just go? I kind of want to go try it.
Right now.
Just go grab it and then just and then you just see mango bubble tea just like
But that ruins the
coming.
fun of it. It's guessing how many you could try, and
Okay.
then you
Well,
know
Okay.
you're
guess
gonna go
now.
try. Yeah, yes, guess
Here,
right
here,
now.
here. No. Well, guess now, right? Finish off the episode, film again, and it's just like and just have another one. Or just KP just doing that.
I
I
already
don't
know
know
what
if
the
I'll
Like a
answer
have
is.
bonus
enough.
episode. Like a bonus episode. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Zayu doesn't look very impressed,
I
but
already know what the answer is, so
you know?
I could guess. I think I could get in the ballpark. I think I get
I'm
within maybe 10 or 15 or so.
I haven't had pearls in a long time.
Take a shot. Take a shot in the dark. Cass goes first because she doesn't know what she's talking about. We can't give her a hint.
12.
Okay, KP.
12?
It's
Are
okay.
you
We
okay?
don't have to
I
discuss
don't
how wrong
know.
she is. Just move on.
I don't know.
Do you have a small ass mouth, dude?
I
Wait, am I
do.
allowed to use like
What was-
language?
Oh yeah, you are, but
Okay,
we'll
okay,
just.
okay. Um, ooh, do I like go out and be like very confident in my ability to
Yep.
hold?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold.
Yep.
If Cass is gonna say 12, I'm gonna do
24.
no.
36.
Cass is
Why
no
are you
longer
why are
allowed
you
to
going
comment.
in?
We are muting Cassidy for the rest of the conversation. She has a
Fine,
very
He's going in
poor
I'll just
multiple.
leave now. I'll just leave.
conception of how much.
I'll say 75.
Yep, that's in the right ballpark.
Yep.
That's kind of impressive, actually. I think
I think
last
I
I checked,
can.
I was in the 60-ish range.
Yeah,
Um,
we should have a test. Like one day we all get boba with like extra pearls, and
you know what?
just
I'm
test it
confident.
out.
I'm gonna go with 70. I'll go with 70.
Okay, okay, yeah.
With KP, with KP. I know
Yeah.
it's in the like 50 plus range, like
Yeah.
easily. Cass is
Easily.
on some shit. Like I don't know what
No!
she's doing.
I'm just
12.
scared of choking.
You
So
could
it's
fit like
I
12 dumplings in your mouth. Okay.
No, you can't.
Comment in you can't comment down below if you've watched 5 minutes into the podcast so far, how many bubble tea pearls you think you could fit in your mouth. Please don't try that at home. I am not responsible or liable for choking hazards. So topic for the day is going to be I've caught myself. I've decided to stop saying what the topic of the day is going to be because we always go so far off topic that I have to either like steer us back for the rest of the episode or just pretend that that's what I meant to talk about the entire time. So we're just going to give a general prompt. We're talking about school during COVID specifically. School as a whole we can talk about at lengths another time. But it's been about a year of quarantine for us now, just over, right? We started in March last year. And it's
March last year.
mid-April. A little over a year of quarantine now. We live in the greater Vancouver area. Maybe not necessarily the city of Vancouver, but all three of us live in the greater Vancouver area in BC, Canada. And the province's handling of COVID-19 has been
Not the worst.
not the best either. Somewhere in the middle.
But not the worst.
Somewhere in the middle.
But not the worst, yeah.
I don't think anyone who's local is too proud or super duper happy with how the province has handled it, considering we are in our third wave of lockdown, also known as our first wave of lockdown, since people who were responsible never really stopped. But at the same time, it could always be worse. Could always be the States.
We could live in Ontario.
Yeah, it could be in Ontario.
Ontario's like
Yeah.
So, the three of us, as you will hear, I guess, very soon, have fairly different experiences of school during COVID. Different programs, different... Well, I won't spoil too much. So I'll let everyone else introduce kind of what they've been doing within the last year, whether they've been in school or not, and then we'll get the conversation going with what we think about our experiences thus far. I'll go last. I'll let someone else start. What do you two want to do? Rock, paper, scissors?
KP, you want to go first?
okay, I will start.
Wait, introduce yourself. I totally forgot.
Yes.
We went on a wild
Yes.
tangent about bubble tea, and all the viewers know
Yeah.
so far is that you're confident in your ability to hold 75
Yeah,
of them.
75 pearls. I got this. Cass can only hold 12, so you know
That's whack.
anything more than that is like must be achievement, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Hello. I'm KP. My name's actually Christiane. I don't know if I should tell them that, but like, anyway. Yeah, I am in 4th year university. I'm in mechatronics systems engineering at SFU.
Big words.
Yeah.
Big words.
Big words, small person. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't.
4'11".
I am not. Okay. I am 4'11" and 3/4. Therefore,
Same shit.
and that's at the end of the day.
Mm,
That's at the end of the day. Therefore, at the beginning of the day, I am 5 feet. Therefore, I have achieved my life goal. Right?
sure.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. Well, do they know how we met? Probably not, right?
No.
If you take a look at some of the things
Oh my
on
god.
KP's wall,
Yeah, use
it'll
your
be
detective
obvious.
skills.
Yes.
Do some
Yes.
inferring.
Put your answers in the comments.
Cool. So I don't tell them, Cass, or
You can.
I got some jerseys.
the K-pop posters are not mine. I swear.
Oh, yeah.
I have
yeah,
my
yeah.
own on the other wall.
Yeah.
Those ones are not mine.
Yeah, it's our
Yeah.
parents. They just come and decorate our walls with like K-pop.
Yeah.
Who can
It's like,
resist?
Mom, what
Who
the
can
heck,
resist?
man?
Yeah.
Yeah. I met Cassidy through Frisbee, but Zaiyou is actually kind of.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I think one time, no, you shared a post about something, and I had commented, and I think we had a brief conversation, and then one day, I think I was just mentally not in a good spot, and I saw your name was like the first one on there, and I was like, huh, okay. So I'm like, hey Zaiyou, what's up? And I think. I don't know why, but I was so open to sharing a lot of things with you. And then
Very nice.
you...
Oh, I do remember this. Because then
Yes.
I remember I finally replied to you after like...
Yeah, Cassidy
By
takes
accident.
like 3 months. Like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
she messaged me in March, right? We were talking, and then 2 days ago, she goes, oh shit, I haven't talked to you in a month. My bad.
No,
I forgot.
No, it's just... It's hard when all the days blend in. But anyway,
Yeah.
I just remember being like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, I'm sorry I didn't reply. And then KP's like, oh, it's okay. I've been talking to Zaiyou. I was like, what?
I do remember those conversations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was very helpful. I remember just sitting on a park and calling Zaiyou and crying. But anyway, that's me past that.
I get that a lot.
A lot, just like a random girl sitting at a park calling you up, like, hey Zaiyou, I
It
need help.
sounds so...
Actually,
Imagine.
it's
Oh.
happened recently.
Oh. I don't know if it's a thumbs up moment, but like, yeah, okay.
Anywho, to
Um,
direct this
yeah.
away from Whatever that
dude,
is.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm at SFU. It's my fourth year, and I was in, I think, 4 classes when COVID started.
Mm.
And so I remember the day. It was March 13th.
Yep.
Okay. There's another story to this. I feel like I'm just gonna go off topic a lot here, but March
That's fine. I do that
13th.
all the time.
Okay. March 13th, 2020. I was sitting in my lab and we got an email. It's like, school is closed for however long, whatever, like COVID. And from March 6th to the 13th, I was like extremely sick. Like I had a cough, I had a fever, I had like all the COVID symptoms that, people were super scared about.
Mm-hmm.
And so that day when they said like, hey, the school is shutting down, suddenly something kind of clicked in my head and I'm like, maybe I should get a test, because this is actually serious. And so I went to go take a test that day. I was at the hospital for, I think, 6 hours just trying to get a COVID test.
Oh yeah.
Because that's when everybody was freaking out.
That was
and
rough at the start.
yeah, and even people who weren't sick, like I think there were 5 people with me there that just like, I need to do this for my own, like, what's the word, like, own satisfaction and
Like
knowing
peace
that
of mind.
peace of mind. Yes.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, so I got a negative test or result, but that was 16 days after. So I was at home, quarantined, self-isolated from my mom and all that. And I'm an only child, so I was actually just sitting in front of my computer sulking and doing 4 classes worth of work.
Yeah.
Which wasn't exactly fun because...
No, and like especially at that time, you're just adjusting to the lockdown. So like being by yourself is even harder than it is now, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember my mom would just bring me, like, she would put the food on the counter. I would open my door, grab the food, and then eat in my room. And it just felt like I liked staying in my room, and I liked being alone, away from my mom, because all she does is kind of scold me. But yeah, and it was tough. 16 days of just calling people and then doing all this work. It felt like I was trapped in I was actually like literally physically trapped within a room, but mentally it was really, really tough. And then, how do I put this nicely, the SFU professors were not very understanding. They weren't very, I guess the transition to online was just so tough for a lot of the professors because they're so old-fashioned.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of like old male engineers who, like, kind of just have a little bit of trouble.
Not necessarily known for their technological adeptness, we'll say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like how you came up with very nice sounding words. Anyway, moving on.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We get the gist of it with the professors at the start not being very good with the transition. Wasn't super smooth for a lot of people.
They weren't very good even throughout the summer semester. And it was a very, like, even summer was really tough because our professors were just, hey, we're gonna keep it like this. And so we went with it for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and we're like, hey, it's not working.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, we'll change it. But the change that was made wasn't exactly like the same thing that we were like complaining about. It's like, hey, we don't have enough time and you have too many questions. And so he changed the questions from longer questions to like multiple choice, but we're like, that wasn't the problem. The problem was the amount of, quiz questions and the amount of time you were given. And it was just really tough, like, trying to communicate that. But yeah, it's been tough, but throughout COVID, I think all of last year, I started gaming. So I had like a
Mm.
like a what's the word? An outlet
An
for
escape at least.
all.
Yeah.
Yes. So I guess COVID has given me the gift of how do I say it? Gift of understanding how much time I need for myself and being okay with being alone, I
Yeah.
think. Like it has taught me to be okay with it, which I in the past have had a lot of trouble with. Um because I'm always out. I'm playing frisbee like VUL Mondays, SUL, whatever, and then seeing people all the time.
Yep.
And I was never alone. Like I was an only child, but I was at school. I was gone by 8, at school by 8:30, and I wouldn't get home until like 10:30, 11. And it was just a really, really tough, but I guess like a good learning experience. And I think that's that's how it's been for everybody.
Mhm, mhm.
And um, yeah, that's kind of the gist of my COVID learning experience.
So far.
But now I'm in co-op, so it's all, I don't want to say all fun and games. It's not. Um, it's less stress because I get to leave the house, but um, I don't know. It's also stressful because of the third wave.
Mhm.
So then, even if there's only 20 individuals and of us, like 20 of us at work, it's still like scary. And this week or last week, actually, they cut down the people. They I think had 6 people working from home,
Mhm.
and so I also started working from home because um, my cousin's McDonald's restaurant uh, had 3 separate like COVID cases. It wasn't at the same time as his shifts, but it was they were, yeah,
the chance. Yeah.
they were shut down by Fraser Health, so you know that there's a concern there. So
Mm.
yeah, luckily symptoms have not come up, and we are all feeling healthy.
That's good.
And yeah,
How long have you been in the co-op program? When did that start?
I started on January 26th.
January.
Yes.
And so that's in person, right? Yeah, with a group of like 20 or so. Okay, interesting. So you said you did like a summer term as well last year, and then
and fall.
and fall,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
co-op
and
until
then
now.
and co-op.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, interesting. Cassidy, share with us what have you been doing within the last year, school wise or not
so-
school wise?
I took a gap year. Not necessarily because of COVID, but then after I was like, thank God I took a gap year because this is a really good time to take one. So going back to last year around this time, I was still graduating from my program. So I was still in school. I was working on my final projects around this time and my grad show, so I had online classes, but they weren't lectures because at that point in the semester we were only having class time anyway. So really, like, we would only have meetings for the grad show, and then literally all my other courses are just like you can do it on your own time, basically. I think for me, because I'm in design, it was hard to get the amount of feedback as we did in person because you can't just go up to your teacher and be like, hey, what can I fix about this, like, is this as accessible as it needs to be, right? So in that regard it was hard, and obviously because like everyone's like, what the heck is happening, how are we supposed to you know adapt to this, but I would say my timing just worked out really well. So after I graduated from that program, I decided to take a gap year just because, like, I just felt like I didn't have a break. Like even in high school, even if you didn't go, or I didn't do summer school in high school every single year, but like, the grind with frisbee sometimes it's just like it's not. You don't actually have time to just like simmer down, you know. So I was like, hey, this is going to be the year finally. And I also didn't want to rush my applications for other programs too, because I really wanted to try going or shooting for schools that I wouldn't think I necessarily could get into.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to see what happens, right? So I was like, I'd rather take time doing that than just being like, you know what, some like someone take me please, you know. So yeah, so other than that, I haven't really experienced the Zoom lecture things. Like I did take some courses, but it was fine arts, so it was like, here's what you need to do. Now go off and draw. Like so, it was never like a 3 hour lecture or anything. But yeah, it's been not as stressful as it could have been, which I'm really lucky. So.
Okay, well, guess it's down to me. I've been in school the entire time, basically. I did not do summer. I didn't do a summer term last year, so I was working during that time. When COVID hit in March, I immediately transitioned to online school at UBC, and the program that I'm in business, they did a pretty good job, all things considered. But it wasn't until this year that I realized how good of a job they did in comparison to some of the other faculties. Some of the other classes that I'm taking outside of my own faculty, but maybe I'll get into that a little bit later. I have taken, I had I think 4 or 5 classes last term, and then like 6 classes this term. So plenty of Zoom lectures and stuff like that. Vast majority of them, almost all of them, are synchronous and through Zoom. So live lectures all throughout the day, every single day of the week, and yeah. Definitely go into more detail when we talk about the goods and the bads, like what we enjoyed about it and some of the challenges we faced, but nothing too interesting with like what I was doing with my time. At least I transitioned like to online school and then continue with that up until present day. And my I'm in 3rd year, so the term's finishing soon, and then it's looking forward to next year, which may be my last year in my undergrad degree, and like considering whether that'll be potentially somewhat online or partially online as well. Okay, we've already touched upon some of the things that we wanted to go more in depth into, but I really want to start with like, what are the good things that came out of learning online? Because at least for me, and this is definitely somewhat of an unpopular opinion, but in every class or two, my professor will ask at some point during the class or some point during the course, how have you been finding online studies, right? How are you doing? Mental health check, stress levels, what's good, what's bad, stuff like that. And I'm always the one that's like, well, actually, I kind of like it for these reasons. So I'm wondering if you guys had any positive experiences to share with school, or maybe for Cass not doing school and not regretting that decision. But to start, for me, I have been working the entire time during my university degree, so that involved like a lot of commute time previously. Especially with why I was living last year during this time, because I moved in like May or June, and then I moved again in like September, something like that, October of last year. Especially where I was living back then, it was about an hour to get to work. Now, if I were to go to work, it would be like 45 minutes, but I'm also not working because the place is closed down because of COVID. So for me, it saved immediately a ton of commute time, and that was super helpful for me because just less time having to be spent on the road, more time to study, more time to do things I enjoyed. I enjoyed the commute. I quite like taking transit and just listening to music and something like that, but it freed up a lot of disposable time for me to work on stuff I wanted to work on. Reason number 2 is I also was very fortunate to have kind of like an electronic setup already. Previously, I taught debate classes online, so I had like a webcam, I had a microphone, and I had a PC with like a setup that was already pretty well prepared for like online meetings, stuff like that. So compared to a lot of peers that I had, that would it was clear, you could see 12 pixels on their screen when they were sharing their like webcam. Their voice sounded like it was coming through like a tunnel with
The can with
hurricane,
the string.
the can with a string on the other end, with Hurricane Katrina on the other side, and their internet connections were like dropping off every 5 seconds, so you heard every like third word they said in a sentence during class discussions. So I was very fortunate to have like a setup that worked for me as well, and because I'd also taught debate classes, I felt comfortable in front of the camera. I've heard from a lot of people that like it. Obviously, you lose a bit of the personal feel through the online medium, but it just feels awkward, right? So even for people who like are a little bit more socially anxious or something like that, it doesn't feel right to be speaking through a camera. Like, once you are taken out of your screen, it's like I'm actually alone in this room and I don't feel like I'm actually conversing with a real person. So I was very lucky to already have a bit of experience there and not feel uncomfortable talking to a camera, presenting in front of a camera. And there's no like awkwardness there. So those are the two things that I kind of enjoyed coming out of school during COVID. What about you?
Cassidy.
Should I go next? Okay, so I mostly have personal reasons. The biggest number one thing is that I had a lot of, or I wasn't the healthiest I could have been because of sports and stuff. And like, when you're at that age, it's like it's just always go time. You just want to play and you just want to win, right? So I got my surgery in first year, and then second year, at the end of second year is when COVID started. So like since I took a gap year, I was like way more diligent about strengthening it after, just because I had more time, wasn't thinking about school. So like in terms of like physical health, like that helped a lot. I'm a lot more healthier now than I was like going to school and doing everything still. So sometimes I think about it, like if I had gone back to school, like I would probably be a wreck right now, like physically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really glad I took the time to focus on that. The second thing is that I'm super fortunate that I still had a job throughout the pandemic. I was tutoring kids at a tutoring center, and then we luckily were able to go online after. So I've been doing that. I'm still teaching online now, but I started teaching a really, really small like comic books like drawing class for the kids, and it's only like 4 girls in it at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice. I still feel safe, so it's okay. But in terms of like the pros of taking a gap year, it's like I knew that the transition was going to be really difficult. And so I was like, I'd rather like let the programs figure their stuff out first before I go in, because like I'm not going to pay tuition just to have a shoddy first and second year again in another program, right? So in that regard, I'm glad timing worked out that way. I've had time to do just random creative projects I've been wanting to do that have no meaning. It's just dumb and fun. So it's just kind of like a nice break to have to mentally reset. Otherwise I was burning out really hard last year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, understandable. Just having time to take to yourself and answer, like, it kind of skirts around the question of like, what did you enjoy coming out of school? It's more so not having to go to school gave me time to do like other things in other aspects of my life. Sure. KP?
I don't know, man. That sounds bad. There's like nothing good came out of it. But there are. Like you said with like transit and commute to work and your school and whatever. I usually drive also to work. I mean to school. Like it's 30-minute drive to Surrey. For that, and so it takes up to 2 hours depending on a rush hour and what time I leave and what time my classes are. But it definitely took out that aspect of like fatigue. Like it wasn't just because with school in person, it was the fatigue of transit and commute, and also just from all the work, right?
Mhm.
So being at home, I can wake up at 9 or at 8:45 for my 9 o'clock class
Yeah.
instead of waking up at 7:30, getting
Well, that's
ready.
early. 8:55 for a 9 o'clock
I was
class.
gonna
Come
say
on.
that as
Yeah,
well.
Well,
8:45 is like, what are you doing?
8:45 is my first alarms.
Yes,
Right,
Okay.
it's
right,
like
right.
Yeah,
the
right. So if you're just like,
8:45ers, y'all are keeners, man. Like, chill out.
yeah, and then I think, dude, for the first, I think 2 months, because I got my PC in June.
Mhm.
So, okay, am I doing my math wrong? This is really bad. I'm an engineer. 3 months. Okay, for the first like 3 or so months, I was stuck on a laptop with like, and we had no monitors and we had no anything, and with, we use Canvas, so we don't use Zoom, but we had Canvas running, and then I had to like half that screen so that I can fit my notes screen.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh wait, I need to look at the lecture notes alongside the lab notes, and then I had like, like Windows, you can just like
Yeah.
separate into four
Split
different
screen,
things.
4 quadrants. Yep.
Yeah, so 4 quadrants of different things, and I'm like, I have bad eyes, so like just squinting at the screen. Like my mom would come into the room, because she's also like quarantined with me, and she'd like be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I can't see what I'm doing. It's just like," and so that was really difficult in the beginning, and I think because I was so used to taking notes on my laptop, because I have like a 2-in-1. So I like have the professor in front of me, lecture notes, and I would write down. But then it's like, if I wanted to take notes on my laptop, then it would be like I'd be looking at the professor's face, like right here.
Yeah.
It was like, I think that was really tough. But I got a PC in June, which made summer so much easier. It was like really good, except for the fact that I ended up gaming on the other screen because I have 2 monitors.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'm listening, I swear. But it's like casual gaming on the side there. But yeah, I think other than the commute and just saving time there, and then I guess what I was gonna say something, and then I lost my train of thought because I always do this.
You
Oh
were gaming
yeah.
on the side.
Hmm.
You were gaming on the side. Does it have?
Yeah. No, oh no, that was before that.
Oh,
See,
yikes.
You killed her vibe
Maybe-
for a second time.
I'm sorry. I'm
She
sorry.
said,
No,
"I
it's-
got it," and then you went in for the kill.
Yeah. hold
I
on.
know. I know. It'd be like that.
Okay, I got it. I think it's like it's there. No. Oh, okay. Well, I went out more, and I actually started gymming, like in that first 4 months of COVID. I was like, okay, I needed to get healthy, and I'm already immunosuppressed, so I'm very prone to getting sick. So I knew that, okay, getting my body physically and mentally healthy was something that will probably benefit, like especially with the situation right now.
Yep.
So first 4 months of that was like really, really good. Got myself into working out again, throwing again, and and I think I was actually having fun for the first time in like my whole university career. Like I just started with 6 courses per semester in my first year, and it just never I never got a break, and I never like felt like I've caught up on my mental and physical health.
Yeah.
Because I think first year was also the last time I played frisbee. Yeah, end of first year, 2018. Yeah, so that was like, okay, I have time to fix anything that needs a little bit of help moving along. But those are probably the 2 main things that I am really thankful I got more time for with this whole pandemic situation.
One like kind of interesting observation that is the three of us have kind of spoken about is that school transitioning to an online learning environment, one of the major goods that came out of that is actually people having more time to pursue other things now that they have more time, either because they cut out the commute in their life, or I don't know, just because it's more accessible, something like that, right? I mean, it literally saves so much time. Even if you lived right on campus, wherever you're going to, there's still a walk between buildings to get to your class. Now you can literally wake up 3 minutes if you're feeling ambitious in front of your, like, before your class, if your PC's already on from the night before, and just, you know, open the lecture. Maybe food for thought that the school system transitioning to online has made so many people happy just because they've been able to pursue their own, you know, passions. Maybe says something about the fact that people aren't really doing that right now, or weren't doing that previously, I suppose. But okay, let's move on now to probably the meatier topic of the two, which is the challenges that we faced during online learning and all the bads that came out of it, because I'm sure this probably outweighs the goods, or at the very least, the benefits that came out of learning online are very, like, general. You can summarize it as like, oh, saves a lot of time, no commute, had more time to do stuff on my own. And then under that, you know, you could fill it in with, oh, I picked up gaming, I started going to the gym and stuff like that, which I think, you know, all of us had a little bit more time to do some more exercise, leisure activities, whatever. But the challenges, you could list like on and on about all the things that you were just, that didn't feel quite right about learning online. I didn't really like this aspect of the class. This was a lot more difficult for me. So I'll start again and list as many as I can before I run out, and then hopefully don't step over too many of your answers. Before I dive into the really bads, I want to talk about how lucky I am to be in the program that I'm in, and some of the differences I've noticed in the Sauder School of Business's transition to online learning versus some of the other faculties at UBC. I have to take elective classes, like non-commerce electives, to fulfill my degree requirements. I say have to, but I'm also happy to, because I don't want every single class I take to be business oriented. I'm interested in keeping up some other skills, and like looking into other areas of knowledge. Very interested about geography, urban geography, human geography, and I also wanted to keep my French. So I took a French class this term, and I took a geography class this term. And Sauder classes that I've been taking since, last March when we transitioned to online, and then I did a fall term last year as well, and then, the spring term this year, or winter term this year, I suppose. They were almost all synchronous, live lectures, and, the professors were always like, prepared on the day. It felt actually somewhat similar to lectures pre-COVID, where, they would all be dressed up, they look pretty professional, they have like a professional background, maybe it's a Zoom background, maybe it's like they just live in a nice house with like a den with bookshelves behind them, the classic professor look. And it felt pretty normal, other than the fact that we were watching it through a screen. When I when I picked up my French and geography classes, both in the arts department, vastly different experience. The geography class has entirely asynchronous lectures. Hey, that's no problem. I'm a big fan of that as well. It gives me more flexibility to watch the lectures whenever I want, except there's nothing to watch because they're audio only lectures. Credit where credit's due to the professor. He lectures very well. He obviously knows his material extremely well, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the way that he set up the class, but that kind of starts to bring into question, is this worth the price that I paid for the class? If you're giving me an MP3 recording twice a week for an hour and 20 minutes, right? At that point, why am I paying $500 for this? I'm literally leaving this class with 20 MP3 recordings and a bunch of PDFs, right? Which, by the way, the PDFs are set up in a way where I can't learn the class just from the slides, and the audio is way too information packed for me to learn all the course material just from that. You have to be listening to it and then just scroll through the slides yourself. Not to sound super entitled and lazy of I couldn't listen to an audio recording and go through the slides. I definitely can, and that's what I have to do. But again, the value of what I'm paying for kind of comes into question at that point. My French class, slightly different experience. We did have live lectures, but the professor was a lot less technologically adept, ever so slightly older. And although I think she did a fantastic job, all things considered, she didn't have the same level of like getting the class engaged, getting them into class discussions, like, you know, she didn't foster an environment or atmosphere in the online classroom where students were willing to answer questions. Whereas in all my solder classes, it's a faculty policy to have your camera on. So if you're in a program where that's not the case, I have to have my camera on for all of my live lectures. And participation grades are a significant portion of every single class. At least, I want to say like 10%. In some classes more. Whereas in the French class, it was like participation was a grade, but you could tell on the first day there were people who were planning to go 0% in participation. Not a single person turned their camera on at any point during the term because it was not a requirement. And, you know, when I joined the classroom, no one else did, so why the hell would I? And the atmosphere felt completely off. Those classes were just, you join in, you tab out, do some casual gaming on the side. They said, what? Sorry, devoir, homework. Yeah. Let me listen for the homework. What's the homework for next class? And, you know, time goes. Some of the challenges that I faced in those classes, engagement and like ability to absorb the information. I think classroom settings are meant to be, to an extent, like discussion based, and you know, you learn with your peers and your professors guide you through that learning, right? Otherwise, why not just buy a textbook and just read the entire textbook and boom, now you're an expert on the field. And some of my classes really lacked that element of learning. It's so hard to keep a live discussion going in class, and that's made even worse by the fact that like if your professor can't engage the class, right, especially over a screen, I think professors have to be even more engaging than they were previously if you want to get students to participate in an online classroom. So if they were already somewhat of a monotonous lecturer, it doesn't fly in the online classroom setting.
Yeah, and especially if they've like already been teaching for 30, 40 years already, lecturing every single day, and it's like, what? What is this Zoom icon? Like, so
yeah. If they lack that technological understanding, and like they ask a question, people are putting their hands up in the Zoom chat and no one's responding to it because they don't have the Zoom chat open, so they're never going to call on you. And then, 10 minutes in, they're like, you guys don't answer any questions. Like, I need more participation. And the class participants are like, we've all been raising our hands. You've just been ignoring us. Like, what the heck's happening?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think especially in that scenario, like, you also, like, there's a lot of people who complain, right, about, like, especially our age, but it's like you also have to understand that, like, these professors, some of them are a lot older than we are.
Yeah.
Like, they lived like 3/4 of their lives without technology, right? Yeah. So obviously really it goes both ways. Best. Yeah, obviously it goes both ways, right? Like, there are definitely professors and teachers who are not understanding of students, right? But, like, it's better to meet halfway than to just
put it all on the profs.
Yeah.
What else? What are the issues that we've been running into?
I'm super lucky that I'm a visual learner. So when I did have lectures, I was okay with it. I was fine. I guess for me, because I'm in a creative field, it's mostly feedback is what I was lacking. Like, right. The amount of feedback that I needed to learn in. Luckily, I went to a small school for my first 2 years, my post-secondary career. So luckily my cohort was small. They didn't have too many people to deal with. So I lucked out that way. But what I say is, like, in general, it's just hard, like, you can't watch somebody physically demonstrate what you need to do, right? Like if you have a piece of charcoal, you can do one line, but you can do that one line 16 million different times, right? And then they're all like holding up a pad of paper going like this, and it looks the same because it's on like a dinky iPad, right? So it's like I understand that you're trying your best, and thank you for not marking us as hard as you would have, but like, you're missing. I don't know. Art is just so expressive, right? When you're missing the. How do I not get too artsy here? When you're missing like the nuance, it's really difficult to apply that into your own things.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like you're missing. Maybe interaction's not the right word, but like the life of the art, because everything is through a screen, so everything at the end of the day looks just looks like you're watching a YouTube video. And if you could become a great artist from watching YouTube videos, then I would be one already.
Yes.
Right. Like, obviously not to say like that's not possible, but you miss out on so many little details of like live interactions. I can imagine, at least when it comes to like the creative arts. I don't know how you can handle that during quarantine.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
Yeah. And like for me personally, like because I want to be a designer in the future for my own personal philosophy, I think it's really important that I understand how things are built. And like I want to understand like how to use each tool, everything, power tools and whatever, right? And like with quarantine, you can't exactly go into a wood shop safely, right? So it's like I'm paying all this money. I'm supposed to be learning like how to use a 3D printer, how to do this and that, and it's like I don't have access to this anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the prices didn't necessarily go down, universities. So like what okay, it is what it is, So yeah, I definitely think like what we can all agree on is like tuition hurts the most. Yeah.
And stuff, I think SFU, like for us, we still get charged the UPass like fee. I don't know about you guys. So you get UPass fee, and you're just like, I'm at home doing all these things, like, and I'm in co-op, and I think I'm still paying the UPass fee, which kind of sucks because I'm taking one course dedicated to co-op, and I'm driving there and back, and it's in Burnaby, and I live like
supplement my gas money, please.
Right? Like, I've been going like 55, 60 a week. Not really. It's not been fun. But I think in school, I have kind of like a similar thing with Cass in terms of feedback. And I guess with engineering, almost all, like 90% of our classes have lab aspects, right? Like lab classes. And so I am the type of person who learns from being shown and it's like, okay, this is how this works and this is how you use these lab instruments and all those things, and transitioning into an online platform where it's like, wait, can you help me with this? But the TA that you email doesn't respond for
72 hours because that's the maximum
3
amount of time that they said.
3 hours, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 days, and I'm sitting there like I can't even move forward with this assignment, which kind of just sucks. So I think that was one of the really, really tough things I had to go through, and I think it's hard just sitting in front of a computer for me, and the focus I have just kind of goes out the window after the first like half an hour. And it's not because I don't want to learn anything and any like the things that they are like lecturing about. It's when I'm staring at a screen, I feel like, okay, we don't have to turn our cameras on. The professors do, but in terms of the students, everyone's just like a gray screen, like, and you don't see anything. And so you're kind of sitting there like, you kind of feel like you're not accountable. And you don't need to listen. Even if you need, like, you should, and you know that you should, you're paying for the course. Even if it's not a financially good price, but like, but you find yourself wanting to listen, and but you can't, just because it's I feed off of the professor's, I don't want to say vibe, like
That's
but
what it
Like
is.
vibe.
vibe, like the energy in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, energy. Yeah. So then I sit there and I go, usually in person, I'm like, okay, they are engaging us and they are, asking questions, and people are actually talking, and I can physically see the hands going up, people shouting out because my friends are stupid. But um yeah, like it just takes away a lot of um motivation in putting in the effort to actually learn and absorb the information that you're getting taught.
Yep.
So I think those are the two main things for me. And it doesn't help that like the professors, although some of them actually try and reach out to you, and they're like, okay guys, like I think I had one professor, she handled her class very, very well in the fall, where she continuously had polls, like the way Canvas was like polls, and it's like, okay guys, when and we had presentations, and I think having a group project with other people that you've been familiar with throughout um your your program, you kind of feel like, okay, hey, I'm actually doing something with other people and kind of having interactions. But like for other courses, like another one I took in the fall, where projects are, and we did have a project and a group project, but a lot of the details about it kind of got miscommunicated, or there were a few errors in terms of presenting it, and so it was very difficult for a lot of us, and the average went really low, like it became really, really low, and it was something that I think that was the hardest course for me to just engage in with everything, because communication was just not there. And I think those are like really, really important. I contact my teachers or my TAs a lot, like to ask questions, but it's tough. Yeah.
I want to make a comment on something you said a little bit earlier, which is like the fact that it's difficult to focus online. Now that's a shared sentiment. I'm sure anyone watching this will feel the same way. But I've read about how that has something to do with like you feeling like when you're at school, you are there for a purpose, right? For me, if I'm on campus, if I left home and I walked or bused or got driven, whatever, to campus, the time that I spend on campus is specifically for school. That is a reason that I'm in that physical location. When you're at home, it's kind of hard to discern. The boundaries get eroded super, super quickly in quarantine, and now you do absolutely everything from the comfort of your own home, right? Which is at this point kind of a joke, because while it's comfortable, you also, a lot of people have seen like a reduction in efficiency as you tab out, do a little bit of this. I can afford to watch one YouTube video before doing this, and then I'm taking notes, but like I can watch it later on like 1.5 times speed. Like I'm sure I could go through it quicker than the time you're supposed to spend absorbing that information. It's the same thing as having like a bed next to your desk when you study, right? It feels like I could just go sleep right now. Like I could just take a nap or something. I could lie down. Why not just study like on my bed or something?
I always choose the nap.
Yeah, and
Yep.
Yes.
and there have been, as I'm pretty sure, like studies showing that having like an isolated space for a specific like task, like work or school or something like that, is a lot more efficient than doing it in the comfort of your own home or something like that. So completely feel you on that point. Same thing for me, right? I use this setup right over here for the podcast. I use it for gaming. I use it for chatting with my friends. I use it for school, work, everything. So every time I sit in this desk, it's like I could be doing anything right now. Like I could tab out right now and do something else. I could work on this other thing, because it's all just done in front of my computer, and there's no separation between unique tasks and activities that I have to be doing day in, day out.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Oh, sorry, I think that's interesting because for me, we are so I don't know for you guys, but like some of my courses will be like studio time, and that's like a 4-hour class. And but it's like it's not 4 hours of lecture. It's 20 minutes of these are your milestones. This is where you should be in your projects right now. Come back in 3 hours. I'm gonna be here on Zoom by myself if you have questions, but do your own thing. You should be here by the end of class. So it's kind of like I definitely understand the screen exhaustion, but it's like I also have not I just realized I definitely have not experienced that myself just because like we are all doing totally different things. Um yeah, but like it's just tough. There's nothing really you can say other than it's like it's just hard right now, right? So yeah.
I don't know. I actually, again, I did not expect to really be singing the praises of my own faculty because there are so many things that like are challenging and I think could have been handled better in retrospect. But I really enjoy, or I'm really thankful rather, that a lot of my professors have made the effort to transition a lot of the class formats to something that is a little bit more feasible for online learning. I've had a lot of professors, at least this term, who, in my higher level HR classes have made it so the classes, the grading is based on group projects, assignments and stuff like that, rather than tests and stuff like that, because, well, people cheat. I saw a ton of that last term. Not last term, rather, last year in the first term of quarantine. A lot of the professors, because they didn't have time to rewrite their midterms, finals, whatever, just said, you know what, we're going to do everything, but it's going to be at home. Please don't cheat. And wow, lo and behold, students are not the most ethical demographic in the whole wide world. And a lot of my friends were like, hey, you want to do this test with me? And I was like, no, I don't actually. But I good to know that my degree is being devalued because everyone around me is cheating in some way or another. Love that. And also because my faculty is like graded based on a curve, my grades are dropped because everyone's suddenly a 95 student. It's crazy. But this term, because it's all heavily based on like group projects and stuff like that, I've at least been able to like work with that rather than like having the internalized feeling of like, oh my god, I bet everyone else is cheating on this quiz too. Like, I'm tempted to pull up the notes even though it's supposed to be closed book, but I bet everyone else is looking at the notes because who's stopping them? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't written a test regularly since high school.
Lucky you.
How does that feel?
It hurts. It's like a little dagger in the back. It's like, oh,
Quizzes.
Right?
10-minute time
Midterms.
quiz. Yeah. Midterms on Canvas. Okay. I actually okay. We're gonna do something a little bit creative here, a little bit innovative. I think we should end an episode here and then continue on with something brand new, but continuing our talk about school, because we spent an hour at this point talking about like our experiences. So that kind of sets up the discussion to go deeper in terms of like, do we think like not to spoil too much, but do we think like the value of degrees and stuff like that stays the same? If everyone's like cheating or has access to like external resources when we're doing our different programs between the three of us, very different programs between the three of us, does that change how the next generation of people graduating from university will like work in the real world? Because a lot of our classes hopefully in the future are going to be changed to either accommodate an online format, because who knows what the state of the world, like what could happen 1 or 10 years from now, or maybe classes will somehow continue to be online in the fall, even though they're not. I think SFU and UBC are both not planning on doing that in the fall at this point. Yeah. But what if it happens that they have to end up resorting to that? There's a lot of things to discuss like along that vein. So we'll call it a tentative quits for this one. Also, this benefits me because I have not recorded in several weeks because I've been overwhelmed with school amongst other things, so we can pump out like 3 episodes on the same topic in the following like week or so. Thanks for joining me, even though we're probably going to record later this week or as soon as possible for the following episode anyways. Any parting thoughts on the goods and the bads of transitioning to online learning within the last year or so?
It's been tough, but it's been good. I don't know. Like that sounds so stupid,
Nice.
but it's actually like it's true, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's,
Right.
I think a lot of people can find silver linings. It hasn't been all bad. It's definitely not been all good. God forbid. Do you have a question?
Say
Yes, Cassidy.
Okay, if you're thinking about taking a gap year, it probably means you need one, to be honest.
Cassidy's gonna plug her gap year idea.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yes, I know I was talking to a really close friend of mine, and she was thinking about taking a gap year, and then because of the field that she's in, like, it's just unheard of. People are like, what are you doing? You're prolonging your, like, are you dumb? Basically is what they're saying. And it's kind of like, it's different for everyone, right?
Sounds like accounting or law or finance or
she is not.
medicine.
Medicine, yes. But if you need it, you need it, right? Like, the worst feeling is being burnt out and then being forced to do literally everything. So yeah.
I wish I had taken one, and I'm pretty sure I told Cassidy this, but I have thought about it, but due to reasons, my mom, I have not been able to take a gap year, even if I've needed it. And I think the most of like a gap term, I guess, was fall when I'd taken 2 classes, but even those 2 classes being 4th year electives, like
Right.
4th year engineering electives, they were
Kept you busy.
just yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish I had taken one. I think it would have been very beneficial after 2018.
Yeah.
After that summer, but
Absolutely.
I think if you need it, you need it.
That is a good parting thought, actually. It's good call by Cassidy. I had a couple good responses to advice and wisdom with Cassidy. A couple of people really enjoyed hearing what she had to say. So if you need a gap year, take a gap year. If you are considering a gap year, might need one. If there's already some doubt in your mind. Yeah, I had a similar experience to KP. Considered it, decided maybe not the right time or other extenuating circumstances. So we'll call it a wrap for this episode of part 1 of school during COVID. We'll revisit the topic hopefully and talk about some other things relating to school and degrees and stuff, our experiences. Hopefully you found this episode interesting and at least listening to the 3 of us like ramble on about how we spent our last year during school sitting in front of computers. It was a little, is it just me or is it really stuffy in your rooms?
It's so warm
Very
on the West Coast right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's horrendous.
Global warming, we're super dead. Like
Yep.
in the next like.
Do you know
50 years or
Vancouver is
so.
supposed to be like LA in 50 years?
Really? In 50 years?
Yep.
I hope I'm not alive by then. So,
Yeah.
if I wanted to be in LA,
yep.
I would go to LA. I don't want Vancouver to be LA.
This is true.
Is LA the Golden Coast or is that Florida? I don't even know which coast it is.
Golden Coast is West Coast.
It is West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the entire
Now
coast.
I'm unsure. You know what? Just Katy Perry, California Girls,
Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay,
Golden Coast. Is that West Coast or East Coast?
North
Or is
Coast.
it Australia? I feel so dumb right now.
I can't tab out of this because
It is California.
Okay.
Yes, it is California.
You know what? I quite like Vancouver's temperate coast. I don't want the Golden Coast.
With 4 seasons. Yes, I like being in the temperate rainforest.
Yes, I like having 4 seasons, not California or like San Francisco's like. What is San Francisco? Oh, God, I remember I went there one year and they were like the 3 seasons are like summer for like 2 weeks, fog, and, I don't know, presumably rain. Anywho, we're going off topic. Don't forget to comment how many bubble tea pearls you can fit in your mouth, and catch you next time.
Did you like that? Yes.
Catch you next time. when we revisit the topic of school during COVID and start the episode with an even dumber question. Don't worry, I've got some.